You are welcome to PECO Virtual School. Yes, we have been providing quality education for over 12 years. Now the virtual school has come up because of COVID-19. We hope that yes, you can study safely, as you say, at home, supporting your parents and doing other work. You don't need to be in school, and that's why PECO Virtual School has come in. This is biology, and your teacher is Kizito Julius. Let us look at the introduction to biology with the simple question, what is biology? Yes, you got it. Biology is a science that deals with the study of life, because biology comes from two Latin words that we are joined. The first word is bios, B-I-O-S, and the second word is logos, L-O-G-O-S. So we get the word biology. What's the meaning of the word bios? And then what is the meaning of the word logos? Bios simply means life, and logos is the study or the philosophy or a school of study. So that's why we said that as you talk about biology, you think about a branch of science that deals with the study of life. So the 4 years you are going to be in secondary school or level, you'll be talking about life and the components that support life. But now, after studying the biology for 4 years and the other years to come, which professional courses do you think biology will take you to, including your friends? For me, I've been thinking about the following. 1, you can be a medical doctor, and I know many of you like this. You admire the doctors. Your parents may be one of them, and you want also to be part of that profession. You need biology. 2, you can become a scientific researcher. There's a lot of research going on around us, and this is done by scientists and specialists in biology. You may wish to become a pharmacist. Now, you may also wish to be a dispenser. You have seen people in dispensaries. Now, the difference is there between a pharmacist and then you have seen dispensaries. What's the difference? Now, a pharmacist is involved in the mixing of the chemicals, let alone to give you the drug. You need the biology. 4, you may become a veterinary doctor. Your cat, your dog, your pig, your cow is sick. You contact these people, so probably you have an interest in that. 5, 6, and 7, 8, 10, mention them. There are so many professions. You have had people who are specialists in the growing of flowers. Which name is given to them? You may also have had those that are involved in maintaining the fish, not the fishmongers, but those that are specialists in fisheries. They were once students of biology. What about agriculture? This morning my colleague was talking about agriculture. Yes, agriculture has also so many branches, but the major thing you need is biology. What about the study of birds? The study of viruses? The study of bacteria, bacteriology? The study of bees? Some of these you have heard of in your primary, and yes, you are just writing them down. Thank you very much for putting them down, and I hope you have more than 10 professions that we can look at. And did you think about becoming a teacher like me? I know very few of you wish to do that, but a few of you are there. I was also just motivated into the teaching profession. Now, is biology of any importance in our daily life, if you are to ask ourselves? And the answer is yes. But how? Try also to put down the answers. What do you suggest? You are almost there. 1. We can tell the future from the past. My grandmother told me that 40 years back we had many floods, not only in Uganda but around the world. Rains came in unexpectedly from a drought that had taken many years, and now here we are. So we can think about what will happen 40 years to come from now. Probably the same history will come back. That's what we are saying. We look at the past, we look at the present where we are, and then we can predict the future. Biology does that. 2. We can solve court cases. In case you are not sure of your parents, and in most cases we doubt our fathers. We doubt our father, never the mother. But they never doubt your mother. Your mother 100% is your mother. But you have heard that there is a high percentage that your father is not your father. I'm not saying that doubt your father. Be convinced that is your father. But you have had cases on TV, on radio, in papers, and then the government has to come in to help you, to help such people. They carry out what we call the DNA test. Now, the DNA test will confirm if your father is your father. For me, I decided not to test my kids, because you may get disappointed. I advise you not to do the same. You may get disappointed. Be convinced that your father is your father. Your parents are your parents. But if you doubt it, go for a DNA test. You have also had what we call biometric methods. Even some of you, your TVs and the phones, even the gates at home, you just put your fingerprints and then it functions. There's a lot of biology behind that. You have had cases involving theft, and then they bring the dogs, or they take a sample, kill so and so. This is biology that is involved, and now the biology comes in to solve the cases that court may not have been able to solve. 3. We can prevent diseases. Currently, we do have COVID-19. COVID is a virus, and this virus has a crown, and that's why it is in that group known as the COVID viruses. And the thing is, who started thinking about putting on the masks? And I've heard of recent that now if again you put on specs, you prevent yourself more than the person without the specs. Put on the mask, put on the specs, sanitize, wash the hands. How do they start with that? Are they just theory dreamt of? No. Biologists have studied the virus, how it is transmitted from one point to another, and then you give a solution. You may have heard of how malaria was killing many people. How do you start now the method of having mosquito nets and so on? Okay, clearing the water around our homes, clearing off the bushes. Biologists must have studied the life cycle of mosquitoes, and then they give a solution. We have had so many infections: the cholera, the Ebola, the Marburg fever, and so on. And these have been curbed, they have been reduced because of scientists coming in. So thank you very much for studying the biology. You have a lot to add to our country and our nation and the world to help other people thrive and survive and enjoy life on planet Earth. How is biology going to be studied? How are you going to study the biology? We look at things, we compare them, we see similarities and differences, and then as we do that, we are helped to think scientifically. Our interest is to think scientifically. Now you may wonder, do scientists think differently? And the answer is yes. You must have a different thinking from other people who are not scientists. You may also have heard people say, hey, he's serious in himself like a scientist. That means that they know scientists must behave in a specific way. So you must think in a specific way. What do you need if you want to become the best biology student? Either in your school, your village, it can even be in the country. This is what we need. 1. You need your eyes. Remember, we said that we must look at things. We must see the differences and similarities. You cannot do that without your eyes. Now, you may get shocked. Can a person be there without eyes? Yes. And no. Yes, if you have the eyes, but you cannot see the differences and similarities between two things that have been given to you. One day I asked my son, what's the difference between girls and boys? And he told me, boys put on trousers and the girls put on skirts. Is that a scientific thinking? So the boy has no eyes. I got shocked. So you may have eyes, but you are unable to use your eyes scientifically. So keep your eyes. 2, you must have a pen to write down the differences, the similarities as you make the comparisons. 3, you need a pencil. This will help you to draw and to make illustrations. By the way, we may not even use words when we are explaining the biology. You may just need to have an illustration somewhere. We are going to see in our next lesson 2 weeks from now how it works. 3, you need a notebook. Why a notebook? Any difference, any similarity that you see, you write it down. You know, some of us, we have a tendency of saying, yes, I've seen, I know. Even what that man is talking about, I know. But you need to write down. The scientific evidence is written down, and this helps us to think scientifically. By the way, do you know that I also have just talked, and we send you the thing, just an audio, but you're also writing, so that you can use your eyes to see what we are talking about. And this is what we are saying. Write down any difference, any similarity that you see daily in your life. You need a ruler. I'll tell you the use of the ruler in our next lesson 2 weeks from now. Let us move down to life processes. How can you differentiate between something that is living from another thing that is not living? So the living thing and the non-living thing. Are they the same? No, they have differences. For example, can you look at yourself and look at your shoe, or look at your shirt? Or if you have a bicycle, look at one. Many of you have cars. Look at your car. Compare yourself and the car. Compare yourself with the shoe. Compare yourself with the shirt. Compare yourself with the bicycle. What characteristics do you have that are missing in your car, your shirt, your shoe, or your house? This is what we call a life process. You are observant, and I know you were able to write as many life processes as possible. Can you cross-check with what you have? Please get your notebook and then we see what you wrote down. My first point was living things can move. So you can move on your own, but a shoe cannot. Now you have to be very careful. There are two words here that are confusing. We have moving, movement, and locomotion. Because at the end of the day, I don't want you people to get confused with this. You're going to ask me, but teacher, what about trees? Do they move? And the answer is yes, they do. But they cannot carry out locomotion. All living things are able to move. Just look outside. If you have a window nearby, what do you see when it blows? Are you seeing the trees around dancing, moving up and down, and they are being blown by the wind? That's what we call movement. Can you just imagine when they manufacture their food in the leaves and then the food has moved down to the roots? That is movement. What about water coming from the soil and up to the leaves? That is movement. This is different from locomotion. Locomotion involves moving from one place to another. The whole organism moves from one place to another. For example, you leave your bedroom to your sitting room. As the lockdown came in, you left school, back home. That is locomotion. But movement involves only a part of an organism being displaced. For example, as I'm talking to you now, my hand is moving up and down, but I'm in one position. That is movement. So what can we say? Animals carry out locomotion and movement. Plants can only carry out movement. Non-living things cannot carry out any of those two things. We have an illustration there. You can see a cock there that was going to be eaten. I think it was going to be eaten. And it is taking off for survival. It is running away. And those young boys, what are they doing? They are chasing it and say, we must get you. Okay? So you can see the hands. They are being moved from one place to another. The wings of the bird, they are being moved from one place to another. This is only possible in living things. Point number 2. You can feed, but your shoe cannot. Now, feeding is taking in food. You can see that young girl enjoying the fruit. Which fruit have you eaten this week? Okay. This morning I ate an orange, and the way I am, I'm taking a lemon. That is feeding. For you, what are you taking now as you listen to me? Are you enjoying that? Okay, we do that. because you are living. Non-living things are unable. I visited one part of this country, I don't want to mention it, and I found people getting cocks, ducks, and goats, giving them to stones that they're sacrificing to their gods. I felt like stopping, and then I picked the goats because the stones cannot eat the goat that they're living there. Haven't you seen that in your locality? By the way, why do we eat? Why do we feed? We take in food. These reasons are going to come in later on. In primary, we are told that some foods give us energy. Some foods are protective to our body, preventing us from getting diseases. Point number 3. Living things respire. So you can respire, but your chair at home cannot respire. Your house cannot respire. Respiration is the breaking down of food to generate energy. Okay, as you see in our illustration, what happens? Air enters the body, and mainly we are interested in oxygen. Though this oxygen may have other gases, but we want the oxygen. After entering to the body, into the lungs, and then to be transported by the oxygen will be transported by blood to different parts of the body, then it is going to combine to react with the food that we have eaten, so that at the end of the day it is burnt, real burning, to give you energy to move on. This is what we call respiration. We need energy now to carry out the first process, which we saw, movement. Without that, you cannot carry out movement, and you become non-living. And some of you, where you come from, like me, the village where I come from, they test people like that. He is no longer breathing, he is dead. Breathing is different from respiration. Breathing is only a sign to show to us that you are still carrying out respiration. So the air moves in, and then the carbon dioxide moves out after respiration. Point number 4. You can excrete by passing out waste materials, but the phone cannot do that. You agree with me? The house cannot do that. Stones cannot excrete. So you pass out waste materials of metabolism. An illustration we have to help you understand this better. Look at that cow. A person almost told me it is passing out water. That is urine. I don't know how many times you have urinated today. The day you stop urinating, that means that you are not living. Don't get disappointed even if you bed wet. Be happy that you know you are a living thing, because non-living things cannot wet their beds when they are sleeping. At least you smile, convince yourself, okay, I have a problem, I can bed wet. Now I'm happy, I'm living. Point number 5. Living things can grow. So you can grow by increasing in size. A car cannot grow. A stone cannot grow. Your bed cannot grow. Your shoe. For me, I don't know even how many shoes I've put on. After many years, coming to 60 years now, I don't know how many shoes I've put on. Because my my leg keeps on increasing in size, but the shoe cannot increase in size. So I keep on disposing them. Look at this illustration. What are you seeing from that plant? A seed growing? Yes, it has grown now. It is increasing in size. That's what we call growth. Where I come from, they told me of a story of a young girl who was told that when you plant beans, you get more. So this young girl was sent to go and buy salt salt, S-A-L-T. Now she had a very good idea. Said, now why don't I plant it so now we get more instead of buying every time. So she got it to the garden, put it in the soil. She never got anything out because salt is not living. But if this was a kilo of beans, she would get more out of that. So living things grow. Non-living things are unable to grow. Lastly, living things respond to stimulus. If it is one, we call it a stimulus. If there are many, we call them stimuli. You remove the U-S. Yes, I was responding to the stimulus. You remove the U-S and you put an I. If there are many. So you can respond to stimulus, but your house cannot. What do we mean? That if there is a change in your environment that is dangerous to your body has to react. So how many of you, where you are, if you are watching your TV, this on TV, then a caterpillar comes and you just sit on your shoulders and then you just say, look at a caterpillar. Will you do that? Some of you are going to scream, especially the girls will even undress themselves. That's how they react. That's how they respond. Okay? Look at this young girl. She was cooking, touched something hot, and what happened? Say, wow, removed the hand. But now if you had a stone and then you put it in fire, can it run away? A sign is it is not living. But if you are living, you have to respond. If you are walking and you stepped on a thorn or a nail, what will happen? You scream, you jump. That's what we call responding to the stimulus. I know some of you may even have put the seventh one, that living things die. You are correct, but you are wrong. Why? This is not characteristic to living things. It may be confusing because yes, it is very true, all living things die. But can you go through the 6 things that you have seen? When you move from one place to another, or when you carry out movement, do you continue living? And the answer is yes. When you eat your matoke, your kalo, your atapa, whatever, you take a cup of milk or ajon, do you continue living? The answer is yes. If you respire, breathe in and breathe out, do you continue living? The answer is yes. Or when you urinate, do you continue living? We can say the answer is yes. What about when you grow? You continue living. But when you die, do you continue living? And the answer is no. So it is not characteristic to living things. But one other thing that is remaining, living things are able to reproduce. You may ask, what's that? Write it, the 7th one, they reproduce. The thing is, where did you come from? One girl is saying from my mother and my father. Where did they come from? The same story. That's what we call reproduction. Giving rise to new offsprings. A stone cannot. A car cannot. Your shoe cannot. For you, if you don't do it now, you are still young, but when you grow, you'll be able to have young ones. So those are the 7 characteristics of living things. The above specific characteristics give life to living things, and They are known as life processes because they are life-giving. Why don't I give you an exercise that you have been a very good student? What is a life process? Explain 7 life processes. Two. Though a car can move and consume fuel, why is it not a living thing? You may even tell me some of your cars make noise. Some of them may even respond. Not all of them, but some of them, when you touch them, they scream, they are responding. But why are they not living things? Our next lesson will compare plants and animals. As per this week, thank you very much for being a very good student. And yes, we can go through Senior 1 safely. And please, prepare so well for next week. Don't forget to look at the similarities and differences between plants and animals. That's what we shall look at next week. Bye bye for now. Please stay home and stay safe. Don't forget to tell your friends to look at PECO Virtual School. We shall give you the best.